Apple's new announcements this week.
It's a very boring update.
Yeah. Why isn't Josh in every video?
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
What is your favorite Panther Lake laptop so far?
I think it's really good that people hold YouTubers accountable.
I think that's everything, except we didn't bring up Samsung.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
I think we're starting with the Neo. Is that right?
Yeah. All right. We're back with our delayed February episode of the podcast. We actually already filmed this, didn't we, Cierra?
Yes, we did. And it was out of focus, which is so annoying.
Yep. Even a professional operation like us can have these kind of problems. Anyway, we got a big episode today. Obviously, since we filmed the other one, the new Apple laptops have come out. So we're going to talk about our thoughts on those. We're also going to talk about, we might bring up some of the laptops we've done, we've already reviewed and we have further thoughts on. We're going to talk about our favorite Panther Lake laptops so far and just everything going on in the laptop space. We're going to talk about the chair drama. You might have seen there was a chair video where it's the latest drama in the tech space. And I don't know, what else are we going to talk about, Cierra?
We're going to answer some viewer questions.
Yeah.
Just a few that came in. And then...
About like how we test for battery life.
Yeah.
I think there was obviously what new laptops we've got coming. I think I've already mentioned that.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think just to get started though, why don't we do our usual, what laptop have you chosen to use?
ThinkPad X1 Carbon, and it's because I just don't have to worry about anything. I want a nice keyboard. I want good battery life. I like a nice screen. And it's very lightweight. I think it's one of the lightest 14 inches we have. So it also, I think I mentioned this last time, but I can't pick a laptop that we're currently reviewing because it's being tested, right? So I have to pick one that's a little bit older, which in this case, it's only like a year old, but it is old enough that we're not actively testing it anymore. So, yeah.
And funnily enough, I picked the MacBook Pro 14. Similar reason. It just works. On a day-to-day basis, I have been using the Razer Blade 16, but I think today was the straw that just finally broke the camel's back. I cannot get this thing to work with an external dock. And in my setup, and most of our setups in here, we use a big external monitor. I have a keyboard, mouse, all that kind of stuff. And I've tried two different docks. I'm talking about when you plug it into a dock via a Thunderbolt connection. I just can't. The display is constantly going on and off. It just drives me up the wall. We've tried multiple cables, an anchor dock, Ugreen, etc. At the end of the day, when you're doing something important like this, this one has no fan noise, great battery life, and you just want to open it and it works. And I think you've nailed it with the ThinkPad as well. That's the kind of brand that I think everyone knows, very reliable, especially X1 series. So yeah, same deal here with the MacBook.
Yeah, you definitely hit a spot with your Blade today.
Yeah, I am on the hunt. In fact, funnily enough, at home, I've been trying out that desktop, which I've got to make a video on my experience using this desktop. It's Asus accidentally sent us a big gaming desktop, and obviously we don't review desktops, but they're like, just try it anyway. So I have, and I'm ending up going to the MSI Titan 18, which is really weird, and I will probably do a video explaining why.
I'm excited to see the whole journey come together.
Yeah. One thing I did want to note for you guys is we're actually running the aircon on for the first time. Normally we don't do that in our videos, but it's just getting so hot in Arizona. Let us know with a comment below, can you hear background noise? Is it annoying? Because if it works here, we'd love to run the aircon during our videos. Gosh, it's uncomfortable filming.
Yeah, especially I think with these mics, maybe it won't pick it up as badly. So.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so we have Panther Lake power scaling. I don't know if you wanted me to talk about this or if you remember what
I remember exactly about this because this was interesting.
Yeah, so we discovered in the lock video that Panther Lake could continue to scale upwards and that it didn't have the same diminishing marginal returns curve that we normally see on laptops when you feed them more power, on laptop chips when you feed them more power. Although it did cap out at 60. So we still don't know what the curve looks like after 60, but it's actually quite a linear line up until that point, which was more impressive.
Just to be clear for the audience,
when
we say cap out at 60, it can feed these chips, according to Intel, up to 80, including the
with
boost.
Yeah.
It's just that we haven't seen a manufacturer successfully feed them more than 60.
Right.
With, I think the lock was the highest, was it?
Weirdly enough, the OmniBook actually got up to 63 on average, but it's still around the same.
Yeah. But it's nice to see, I really like what you're saying. It was like with AMD, you're kind of seeing it just flatten the curve at a certain power level. And it doesn't matter what power profile you put your laptop to, performance or balance, it's just about the same.
Same with Arrow Lake H, same with the prior generation.
Where now we're seeing this, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I'm interesting to see how far it goes.
Yes, I'm hopeful that it keeps going up. And I think what I had said last time was that I was interested in whether this means the later gaming chips are also going to be built on this architecture and also have less of a diminishing marginal return.
Yeah.
So they might be able to be more powerful as well.
Yeah, I'd be wondering if there's a laptop out there that can feed it a continuous 80 watts.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Okay, so the next topic was one that you were actually surprised by when we tested this, but we tested upscaling versus stretching with gaming and the Panther Lake.
Let's just quickly catch people up on the difference, right? Yeah. So some of these Panther Lake processors, the problem is they're coming in really premium laptops that you would find for casual users. Those tend to have very high resolution screens. So we're talking 2880 by, I believe it's 1800, 32,000 by 3200 by 2000. Yep. And they look very crisp for browsing the web and programming and things like that. But once you get into gaming, that's a lot of pixels to render. And these GPUs, even though the integrated ones in these Panther Lake chips, the X ones, are very good, they're still like more of a lower end 50/50.
Right.
And so driving that many pixels is hard. So stretching is basically when you render at a lower resolution and you just have basically the computer just do a very simple calculation to stretch it up.
Right.
And you render it, say, 1920 by 1080, you stretch it up to 2880 by 1800. There's nothing special done here. There's a lot of assumptions made. You might find bad anti-aliasing, so a diagonal line looks kind of jittery and stuff like that. Then you've got a choice of upscaling. And upscaling, really what you're doing is you're using AI to do that. So there is, say, an anti-aliasing effect. And even the HUD, the heads-up display, and those items, those are actually, because those aren't tough to render, those are actually rendered at the screen's native resolution. So they look very, very, very sharp. So it's overall a better experience. And we were having this discussion, right? Of which one should you do? And
I think you were under the impression that upscaling was going to be a better option because I think we have a lot of trust in the upscaling algorithm and the AI of it and all of that. But Seth and I both were in the camp of stretching. We thought that it actually looked better than you'd think. And so we obviously had to test it and see who was right. But yeah, the stretching looked better to you than I think you expected.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Cierra, but I think we landed that actually the best was a combination.
Yes.
It was, we found we basically did stretching from 1920 up, but we did do upscaling to get to 1920.
Yes.
Only from, and just to be clear, when you upscale up to 1920, the base resolution is not that much lower than 1920. But we used upscaling a certain amount, and then we stretched from then. And I think it was the best combination, right?
Yes, I think we used quality for the 1200p upscaling. But yeah, it's a good combination because I think it really allows people that get these more premium laptops to still do some decent mid-range gaming on the side.
And I think we've got a video out. I really like doing this video, but not a lot of people have watched it, where we went through the 10 of the most popular games. We tried a bunch of different settings on these Panther Lake laptops. Or I think it was the Duo we used. I can't remember.
Yes, probably.
And it was really interesting to see what you could expect from actual gameplay in a variety of different games. So we'll put a link for that one down below. I thought it was a cool video.
Yeah, I think it was really fun to put together. Okay, next on our list we have laptop pricing, which actually you just filmed a video about this. So I don't know if you want to recap the video or link it. I don't know if it'll be out by this point.
Yeah, and I've just made a noise that's probably picked up by the mic as a big sigh. The moral of the story is this. I think it probably will be out around the same time as this podcast. The moral of the story is that we've heard very bad things, that we could see a big bump in laptop prices in the second half of this year. That could come in the tune of maybe, we've talked about Apple already in this video, maybe there's less frequent sales. So technically it's the same price, but your weighted average price you're paying is actually higher.
Right.
Or we could just see newer laptops coming in much, much higher. But we have heard from numerous people in the industry that there's going to be big sticker shock in second half of this year. So I always say buy responsibly. I I nicked that from Eba from Hardware Canucks, who says that. And, look, buy responsibly. You don't need to be buying a laptop on credit. If you can't afford a new one, there's plenty of beautiful, fantastic ones in the secondhand market that would love a new home to go to. But if you are looking to buy a laptop and can buy it responsibly, I would definitely be putting pedal to the metal and doing serious research now to try and snap that laptop up in the next month or two. And I think this leads nicely to when are the newer laptops going to be available, because a lot of them aren't available yet.
Yeah.
And I talk a bit about this in the video too. Some manufacturers are making decisions which are kind of difficult on which configurations they even offer in certain markets, like the US, because the US has not only this situation with the memory issue raising prices, but we also have the tariff situation that maybe some laptops are just so expensive that they don't even bring them here.
Yeah, no. So as far as the laptops that are going to be available, though, the selection sounds like it might be limited. But which ones did we order in?
Oh, yes. So you guys often ask, like, when are you going to review X laptop? Well, we're going to reveal everything now.
Yeah.
So we don't know what manufacturers send us. Sometimes it's the last minute, hey, you're getting this laptop tomorrow. But I can tell you what we know what we've got coming.
Right.
So we've ordered the Slim 7i Ultra with the 8-core Panther Lake chip, not the X chip. Sorry, guys, it just isn't available yet.
Okay.
But we've put that order through. I think that's going to be a great competitor to the Dell XPS 14 that had that incredible battery life. So we can see, can the Slim 7i?
Right, yeah. And I think we liked the Slim 7i Ultra a little bit more, mostly probably because of the keyboard, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Lenovo has great keyboards.
Yeah, and that Dell XPS 14 keyboard is a bit rough.
And then the Yoga Pro 7, which we're also pretty excited about.
We are. So we've ordered in the Yoga Pro 7i with a 5060. That's the 15-inch Yoga Pro, which is a completely new design this year. Yeah. And I think one thing that was interesting that Cameron pointed out is that we were like, should we get the 5050 model with the Ultra 7 or the 5060 model with the Ultra 9? And I was going to order both because, as you guys know on the channel, we try to be thorough and we try to be the channel that you can see, hey, what the difference is on this. But then Cameron pointed out, he's like, hang on a second, Josh. An X chip for a Panther Lake is going to be around the same as a 5050. So why would you even get a 5050 anyway these days, especially when it's not if it's in a gaming laptop that feeds at 115 watts, which I think is the max, fine. But not in like that kind of laptop. So
yeah, do you know what the wattage is going to be, or like
I don't
range?
yet, but my assumption is it won't be more than 80. That's an assumption, complete assumption. But based on what you know, these creator laptop, it can be a little bit less.
Yes, yeah, 80 sounds about right. So we'll see.
But yeah, so that one we've ordered the Ultra 9 version. That's not the X chip, it's just the H chip with the 5060. And then the other one which I'm very excited about is the Slim 7X, the Yoga Slim 7X.
Oh, yeah.
That was the Qualcomm one that was by far the best Qualcomm one we had in. Fantastic laptop. So this is the one with the X2 chip, which will be our first X Elite 2 chip. So I'm very excited about that one. We do have one coming in as well from Asus, which is the 16-inch ZenBook A16,
yep.
Which apparently that has the highest end Qualcomm X2 chip, so that's coming in as well.
Right.
Also,
X2 Elite, I think.
Yes, yes. So that's 4 laptops. Then we also have the new Legion 5i and 5a, which are very popular gaming laptops. When you look at the laptops that have been sold by recommendation of this channel, that is by far one of the biggest selling laptops.
You know, you say that. Actually, Seth and I discovered something recently because we got these in very, very recently and they're on our testing docket right now. We feel that they made the lock better, but they might have made the Legion 5 worse. We're not sure, but it felt like maybe they brought them closer together in quality, if nothing else. So because the lock is better, the Legion might be less compelling, even if the Legion hasn't changed much.
Wow. Okay.
So that was like a recent thing that, more to come. But Seth and I are cautiously optimistic, but we still think that there might be a little bit less value prop than there was previously.
Gotcha. So, but get subscribed, notification bell on. Legion 5 review, 5A with AMD and 5i with Intel.
We still love those laptops, for the record. Yeah, this is just
that one should be coming soon. Then, obviously, I've already covered this. We have so many MacBooks coming in. I think I'm still ordering them because when you're ordering this many, like credit card limits are being hit at this point. So I've ordered the 16-inch with Max chip. I've ordered the 2 MacBook Airs, 13 and 15 with M5. I've ordered the M5 Pro, the lower end of the two chips, in the 14-inch, and I think we'll probably order 2 more in the 14-inch, the higher end Pro chip, and then one of the 2 Max chips, probably the highest end, so we can see like what the worst case scenario is running in that, like what's the performance hit. I think though, when I look at like what one I would personally get, I think the sweet spot is probably this time the Max chip, the lower, the 16-inch, with the lower of the 2 Max chips with 36, I think it comes with 36 gig of RAM. That's plenty of RAM. I think that is priced more, it's a more appetizing to me than the higher end Max chip, because you still get 2 media engines, which is for video editing probably the biggest contributor, or one of the biggest contributors. It's the same on either of the Max chips. I don't do 3D rendering on any of these, which obviously would be on the Max chip. So I think that one's going to be a good one to get, the lower end Max chip in the 16. Or this year, the lower end Pro chip in the 14 is probably the 2 that I would actually think that we would want. But we're going to get these other ones just for you guys.
For sure. Let's see where we are.
Is there anything else, Cierra, that we've got coming in before we move on?
No, not that's coming in. I think on the last podcast we discussed the eGPUs.
The Tough with Strix Halo.
Oh, we do have the Tough with Strix Halo coming in.
Yep.
We just learned about that like yesterday or something.
Yeah, that's going to be super popular.
Yes. We're really excited to review it.
Yeah, I don't know which Strix Halo. I hope it's got a good Strix Halo chip, because I know that those ones, a small change in the processor number is huge performance change.
I believe it's the 392, which I believe is the one with the 40-core GPU, or the high-core GPU.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so we had a Linux testing update on our list.
Oh, yes.
Which, if you want to go over why we added the tier and what...
I think you can do this. I think it's enough at this point.
Yeah, fair enough. So overall, we always get the feedback that we want more Linux testing, we want full installs, we want more, we want to test the GPUs, all of that. At the end of the day, Linux testing does take quite a bit more time, and none of us are really like Linux experts here. We are probably just a little bit more expert than most people, than the average person, but it's still not our main thing. So it takes us a little bit longer. We want to make sure we do it right. We want to make sure we're testing everything. So Linux testing does take more time. And I think that's why Josh recently changed the membership tiers, where there is a Linux option, so that you can directly support us being able to spend more time on Linux. Because right now, we want to be spending that time at least checking with the boot drive, checking that certain things work or don't work. But if we get enough support, we might be able to do full installs on any laptop that you're interested in. I think it's something we would like to grow in. It's just we have so many tests we already run, and it takes so much time. So it's kind of a triaging situation of where to put our time and what's the most important. And Linux is, while important, it's not the majority of users. So we can't always spend as much time on it.
I think it's a really cool thing, and I've been surprised by the uptake of it. I think quite a few people have signed on already.
Yeah.
Clearly, the people who want Linux are very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think we want to give you guys an opportunity to contribute and get something out of it, So I think if we could get that tier to 100 subscribers, even if we got it to 200, we could take it really seriously. We could literally have someone have enough time to do a full install of the right distribution on the right laptop and do a full kernel update to really see where Linux is at on these things versus just booting up off a drive with an older kernel. So I think it's super cool that we've done this, and I'm surprised no one's done this before. So if you do love Linux and you want us to test more Linux, we've got the tier down below. I think it's like $7.99 per month, and the more we get, it's going straight back into Linux testing.
Yep. And we did bring it back at least on, I think at the boot drive level. So we did bring that back. I think we skipped it in maybe like one video. And
oh, yes, you're referring to how we dropped even testing from the USB drive. Yes. And now we brought it back because there was people really wanted it.
Yes.
Yep. All right. What else we got?
Oh, so this is on the list, but I don't know anything about it. There was some sort of chair drama of chair videos.
Okay. I mentioned this at the beginning. So great video by Honestly or something.
Honesty, I think.
Yeah, I've never seen this person before, but the video popped up in my feed. And basically, it's in the vein of like the Mega Lag drama video on PayPal, Honey, or who was the other one? Who was the other one? Steve, Gamers Nexus, did the video on Linus Tech Tips. And this one is similar. It's kind of specifically calling out your average consumer, and Matt Monis, who we actually know pretty well. First of all, I think it's really good that people hold YouTubers accountable and companies accountable in general, which is obviously Mega Lag's one on Honey. I think that's a very good thing, without a doubt. And in this video, basically, he alleges that these YouTubers are sponsored, but they're not adequately disclosing their sponsorship. And that's really, the synopsis. And I don't think we need to go too much into them. I get he gave some examples there that it did seem, very apparent that that was what was going on. I think this really opens up this wider kind of can of worms that I want to do a video on about this kind of situation, because there's so much stuff that I think you guys need to be informed about when you're watching YouTube videos. I think if someone is saying, hey, in partnership with or things like that, it basically means they're sponsored. And if they're not clearly disclosing it, guys, you should be really calling it out. And you got to be treating that as a product announcement versus a review. And I really don't like when YouTube videos are kind of dressed up to feel like a review, but it's really a sponsored video.
Right.
I can't speak to what others are doing, but I can speak to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
On this channel, we only take sponsorships when it is a product announcement and it is presented as such that this is a new product. We have been sponsored by, say, Dell to talk about the new XPSs. Here's what they're coming with. Here's what we're excited about. Wait for our full review before you make a buying decision.
Right.
If the manufacturer can't agree to that, they're not getting a video. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, on this channel, we would probably only take one sponsored video for every, say, 5, and this is, I'm saying arbitrarily, non-sponsored. We want most of our videos to be non-sponsored. Mm-hmm. And in the sponsored videos, we'll try and give you less YouTube ads as well because it's already sponsored. So that's how we're trying to do it. But when I talk about opening up a wider can of worms, I'm talking about how you guys could be potentially misled, not just in sponsored videos. I think one of the big ones that's also kind of coming up at the moment is affiliate marketing. Mm-hmm. And we're noticing a couple of things here. Firstly, in the YouTube space, when a channel earns money from affiliate marketing, i.e. you click on the product that they're talking about, you buy it, they get a small kickback. That's how we are mostly funded here. Mm-hmm. There also can be potential misuse. For instance, if you talk positively about every product,
right.
What I find is a lot of audience members, they may only watch 1 or 2 videos and not watch any more. And they don't know that the YouTuber talks positively about everything.
Right. Yeah, it's really good to check the channel because you're probably just searching the name of it when you're looking at it online or whatever. But, make sure that channel has some critical reviews as well. Maybe they don't have to be negative, but at least bring up the cons, bring up what you should be concerned about, I think.
That's right. And I think I like affiliate marketing, to be honest, versus sponsorship for revenue sources for YouTubers, because I think it allows us, like when we work with, say, a Best Buy or a B&H, we can choose our favorite laptops out of the 200 they have available. So it gives us that flexibility. They don't particularly care what we sell as long as we sell something.
Right.
So it really allows us to narrow down that search for you guys to the ones we like. And you'll see in our video history, you'll see a lot of negative reviews from us. Mm-hmm. But I think affiliate marketing, again, has the ability to be misused. And particularly, we've even seen now lots of Redditors who are running Reddit subreddits giving laptop advice on laptops. There is no way they've ever owned those laptops themselves. And you look on it, it's all their affiliate links, even though the subreddit rules are not meant to have affiliate links, but the moderator is posting affiliate links.
Yeah, well.
Very dodgy. And we're actually going to be bringing this up with some of the retailers to say, hey, you guys need to be tighter on who you accept into these programs, because that is a little bit of a misuse, because people think they're getting good advice from someone who perhaps is an expert, but they've never bought or owned a laptop, right?
Right, yeah. Next, we have, what is your favorite Panther Lake laptop so far?
I'm going to ask you this one at the end too.
Okay.
I still don't think we've had a winner. I think the closest we've had, I think the Panther Lake 8 chip in the lock was real, and it's not the chip, but the lock itself was much better this year. Depends on the price it's going to come from, but if that with Panther Lake, if you find at some point in the year you can get one with that Panther Lake 8 chip for about $1,000, $1,200, massively improved this year.
Yes.
Lighter, faster response rate screen, better battery, significantly better battery life. That was pretty impressive laptop. The other one that I thought was really good was the Asus ExpertBook Ultra, but it's not quite as premium as like the Dell XPS. It's got a lot of positives, but I don't think, honestly, Cierra, to answer that question, I personally don't think we've had the winning Panther Lake laptop yet. Maybe it's going to be the Slim 7i Ultra, but I don't think we've had one. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't really feel like any of them have been, number one, but I would agree that the ExpertBook Ultra, the lock is great too, but I preferred the ExpertBook Ultra because I do like the thin and light form factor and all of that. My big thing on that one was the coating actually just made it feel a little cheap for me. Like that kind of rough coating on the palm rest that irritated me more than like anyone else in the office. I
didn't mind it.
Yeah, I called it sandpaper. It wasn't like that bad. It was just weird and unusual to other laptops. So it kind of threw me off when I was typing. But
I found it rejected sweat really well. Like I sweat on these MacBooks sometimes, and it just the metal just pushes it back at you.
Yeah.
Where I felt that this one didn't. But I get what you're saying. When you use it for like the first, like at least for me, the first couple of minutes, I'm like, oh, this is very odd.
Yeah, it is very odd. But I loved that laptop in almost every other regard. I would say the only negative of it is that probably because of how thin and light it is, it doesn't max out that chip. It doesn't make the chip perform like as well as we've now seen it perform in like the OmniBook X16 and stuff.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the one negative is you're not getting the full Panther Lake performance.
Gosh, I like that OmniBook X16. Other than the screen is, if I think, and sometimes HPs do have better screens.
Yeah.
The screen we have, by the way, in the OmniBook X is 1920 by 1200. It's probably one of the worst OLEDs we've seen. Dreadful screen door effect. But the laptop, everything else about it is really nice, except the price.
Yes. Yeah. When we first reviewed it, or when I was writing the review up front, it was $1,400. And I was like, okay, well, that's not great. But when it goes on sale, it might be a little bit more compelling. And it performs really, really well. So that's awesome. And then it shot up to $1,900. And it's just, to our earlier point about pricing. We'll talk about it more in that video, but it is a little frustrating.
You can almost buy an older MacBook Pro. Or you can certainly buy a MacBook Pro 14 for that amount. Almost a 16 for that amount. And it's just like, no.
It does rival the M5 in terms of some performance, but it's not going to rival the M4 Pro chip or something like that.
Yeah. And I just thought the screen is the biggest issue.
Oh, for sure.
Like if HP, I've seen them have different screen options on their site, so hopefully new ones are coming for that.
Yeah,
laptop.
this is a Best Buy specific model that we received, but I do think they'll probably have more configs on their website once it comes out fully.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we already covered what's coming next, so we're in viewer questions territory.
All right.
This first one's actually for me, which is what settings do we do for battery life? And like which mode do we run it on, stuff like that. So funny enough, one of our manufacturers, Asus, actually got in touch with us recently to ask this because our ExpertBook Ultra results were not lining up with what they had gotten in their lab. Between us, I think we all know that manufacturers overestimate their battery life quite a bit. We feel that our battery test is maybe not perfect, but at least slightly more realistic than a lot of those other tests.
And we've recently made it much harder.
So the big changes is we went from 200 nits to 300 nits.
The screen being brighter, obviously.
Right, the screen being brighter. And we are now leaving Bluetooth on as well as Wi-Fi. We were already leaving Wi-Fi on. We've removed energy savers. So anything like presence sensing or dimming that can happen on the screen automatically, we have to turn that off anyway because we turn the lights off when we leave and we run these overnight.
We want it to be repeatable.
And we want it to be repeatable. We want it to be fair. So all of those kinds of settings are consistent. And I think I have a list, if there's anything I'm missing. But yeah, it's a pretty long list of just like, no background tasks. We make sure there's no background tasks on like Discord or OneDrive or something like that.
You're running on the best battery settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to Windows, you're turning that on, and we're turning 60 hertz on the display, I believe.
Yep, we do lower it down to 60 hertz. Keyboard backlight off. You already said that.
I didn't, but that's
Yeah.
Yep.
Asus got back to us. I do love that they are very diligent about looking into these kinds of issues. So they said that there is a this is not related to the battery life. This is related to, we were having weird microphone performance. Do you remember this?
I saw that they're going to send us another unit, I believe.
But apparently there was some sort of issue with their noise cancellation algorithm. So that's nice that they're looking into that and fixing that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, what's the next question, Cierra?
Oh, yeah. Why isn't Josh in every video?
Oh, good Lord. Okay. We get this one a lot, particularly when you're on camera at the moment. But we also get a lot of more positive feedback about Cierra. I mean, obviously, you've improved dramatically, as have I over the last year or so. But
I've gotten way better. I can't watch my old videos anymore.
But look, guys, realistically, we can't have it all. If you want me to run an effective business, to produce multiple videos per week, and test laptops thoroughly, they just don't go together, right? There's only a certain amount of time in the day. I'm certainly working super hard, but and presenting on camera takes quite a long time. It really does, especially I'm a bit slower than you are. It might take me, an hour and a half to 2 hours to film a shorter video, maybe even 3 or 4. And some of the longer videos we do over
like
multiple
6
days.
to 7 pages,
yeah, like the LOQ, the lock, should I say? I always get it wrong. Yeah. I filmed twice, right? I filmed the first half one day and the second half the other day.
Right.
And each shoot goes for, say, 2.5 hours. Then we're getting ready before it. It's like a half a day event. And it's very exhausting. Like, I'm just spent afterwards. So if we want to do 3 videos per week plus 1 or 2 shorts, which is what we really want to be hitting, it's very hard for me to be in all those videos, plus use all the laptops myself for a little bit. And even though obviously we're doing a lot of testing and I don't do all the testing myself, I want to make sure I'm hands-on, I'm really trying the laptop for its intended purpose before, even if, say, you're the primary person writing the review, I also am doing a second look at the laptop.
You always use whichever laptop before the review goes out, and definitely before the script reviews as well.
That's right. And if it's a gaming laptop, I want to play some games on it. If it's a creation laptop, I want a content creator laptop, I want to do some content creation on it. All of that stuff. And I think you guys can assume, by the way, that we have 2 people at least looking at every laptop, which is great because you get different viewpoints and you find more stuff. So if we want to review laptops down to the level that we are, which I think is good, and I think it sets us out from competitors, it means that it's very hard for me to be in each video given the depth and the frequency of the videos. So I think where we're kind of landing is I'll be in most of them. If it's like a big researchy video like the Panther Lake ones, which we do quite a few of those ones to say, hey, these are the new Panther Lake chips, these are perform, tons of graphs and findings, I think it's good for Cierra or even Seth to kind of be on camera because these guys are very hands-on using them.
We're doing more of the research.
And the testing, right?
Yeah, and the testing.
And I think it's good for you guys to hear from them directly versus a pass-through. Like, I don't like watching those YouTube channels where I feel nervous watching where the presenter is really just a presenter and isn't really using the devices themselves. So I think it's good for you to hear directly. So I think for those deeper research ones, I think having Cierra on camera is great or Seth on camera is great. Certainly when I'm unwell or, good heavens, actually on a vacation, which I took my first one in like 2.5 years, I think a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. It's great to have, Cierra obviously present. Then what we're going to do for the more casual user laptops, which matches your use case, I'll probably do the summary of findings like in the intro and then maybe hand off to you. And then for the more laptops that I'm more of a specialist in, the Macs, the creator laptops, the gaming laptops, I'll probably do the full thing. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're landing. But I think you guys need to assume that, look, as the channel expands, if we're to deliver what you guys need, we're going to have multiple presenters. It just is, unfortunately, is what it is. I don't think it's that unfortunate. I actually think it's nice to hear different perspectives.
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody knows this, but we are our own writers as well. And that's just a part of the timing that you didn't bring up. But like writing the script and actually doing all the research and putting it all together, that probably takes more time than being on camera. And
it does.
Josh and I both have to review each other's scripts, make sure that we're all checked on facts and, wording and little stuff like that.
I think it was good. We discussed this actually yesterday, that I think it's great, like when you think about a writer's room, having multiple people saying, hey, I don't understand what you mean there.
Yeah.
And then the writer can go, oh, okay, let me explain that a bit better. Or have you truly checked the fact? Or you're making an assumption there. It really does help.
We have that funny thing where a lot of times I write something and I think I'm kind of flowery because I'm a poet. So sometimes I'll say something a little flowery or a little bit convoluted. And Josh will be like, I don't know what you mean there. And then I'll just explain it like perfectly. He'll be like, okay, we're going to write that down. But I think it's one of those things that you just have to check each other on things, and it's part of the being thorough. It's part of having as accurate and thoughtful of a channel as we can.
Yeah. There we go. Almost spilling my coffee. What's the next one?
Music production benchmarks.
Oh, yes. I think someone asked about music production benchmarks, and I think this leads to, hey, how do we deal with other use cases, like not the primary ones we deal with, which is, like gaming or creators or casual users. Look, what we're trying to do at this business is really fuse together a trusted shopping experience of where to go to get the best deal and find the best price with trusted reviews. We're trying to fuse that together and get rid of the noise that comes with like shopping on Amazon, where you're getting recommendations for gaming laptops that don't even have a dedicated GPU. There's highly likely a lot of fake reviews. There's sponsored search results crowding out real ones. We're trying to really create an experience that kind of goes back to what Amazon was when it was good. And so combining those two together. Now, what we like to do is have the shopping experience use case based, right? Like most people shop for a laptop for an intended purpose. And I think that's a competitive advantage versus showing you 300,000 laptops and you have to filter by a processor that you may or may not know even what you want. It's really not great. So with shopping for a use case, obviously we need to have more use cases. And engineering, data science, music production, photography, all that kind of stuff. When we add use cases to the ones we heavily cover, so these are filterable on the site, we have lists on the homepage. So, and just so you know, list on the is really like our top couple of laptops for that use case. And then with the use case filters on the all one is like which laptops are viable for that use case. And because sometimes people cross use cases, which quickly narrows down the available laptops. Realistically, where I'm going with this is when we add these lists to the site, we better know what we're talking about.
Right.
And when we added data science to a list on the homepage, we did 2 videos really delving deep of what data scientists need. We interviewed real data scientists working the field, a variety of them. We did tests ourselves, and that helps us know what they're looking for. When it comes to other thoroughly adding other use cases, and as I said, we're really focusing here more on the lists on the homepage. That one, we need to do our research first to see what are the main software applications they use and really, how hard does it hit. That being said, what we're quickly finding when we add other use cases is they're really more CPU dependent, GPU dependent, memory dependent. There's only a couple of variables. Like even when you think about, say, media encoding engines, which are very important for exporting fast on a video edit, those media engines scale with more powerful GPUs.
Right.
So those are kind of aligned. So it really is, do you need more GPU, more CPU? When it comes to music production, my gut is it's heavily CPU based, it's heavily memory based, and I think that's what we're going to find. So once we do a little bit of research in these, we can quickly, by testing some of these benchmarks, it will give us an idea of what are the parts of the laptop that these people need, and then we can do it. So I think music production, it is on our list to add. I would say we're probably going to get to it. If we get to it this year, it's probably the back half of this year once we get through all the new laptops. But it is absolutely on our list of, I would say, the next 4. Like we want to do architects and interior designers, engineers, traders, music production are probably the ones we really want to focus on adding next.
Yeah, and I think you had said something off camera about the proxy of a benchmark versus like the actual benchmark in the specific softwares. A lot of what we notice is there are patterns that end up being followed where a graph, like for Cinebench, will look the same, have the same bars, same order and everything as another benchmark. And so they're possibly testing the same things, or they're going down the same like.
I think that's a fantastic point, Cierra.
Yeah.
That we're probably going to find with music producers, it's probably going to align to like Cinebench.
Right. But it is good to test still so that we can then, when we talk about a laptop, we can say, oh, this does really well in Cinebench, which might be nice for music producers or
It's
whatever.
a good proxy for those software too. Yeah.
But we don't know that yet, obviously. So Apple's new announcements this week. One of them just came out today. And I think we're starting with the Neo. Is that right?
Yeah. And just before we get into it, because I know a lot of viewers have already jumped in and said, what are your thoughts? Well, we're going to give them to you right now. But looking for reviews of this, I just want to explain like how we do things here. You're going to see a bunch of reviewers and tech YouTubers come out of the woodwork and just cover these Apple products and rush out videos on them as soon as possible. We're just not like that here. Like, we like to do a real, proper, thorough job. And we really have. We've been updating our test suite of the older MacBooks that we have in the studio, getting it ready for this video so we can get it out as fast as possible. Nonetheless, these are probably coming into us in about a week. Then we're going to be testing them for another week. So you'll probably see a video from us towards the back end of this month. I'd love to get it out sooner. If we find interesting findings, we'll hop on with them. But on this channel, we're about quality over a rush job to get more views in the short term. And I know you guys probably know that, have been following us for a while, but if you're wondering we're not ignoring these laptops and we're about to talk about them, we just like to know what's going on. And I think a good example of that was the keyboard in the MacBook Pro 14 with M5.
Right.
I didn't see anyone else catch this, that it uses the low travel keyboard of the Air, not the better keyboard of this laptop, which is the MacBook Pro 14 with the Pro chip. So we're going to definitely test for that when they come in.
Right.
But and that's a very material thing. It's a less comfortable keyboard. You use the keyboard all the time.
Right.
And it takes time for us to find this kind of stuff. Like, we could throw up a video tomorrow just, glossing over the specs and how amazing it is and how awesome Apple is, but that's just not what we do here.
I think the point you're kind of getting at here that I find really interesting is that you want our videos to have more longevity. You want them to be able to be accurate for longer. Because we've discovered maybe everything there is to find out, or as much as there is to find out within that period of time. And I feel like that's a really nice goal with the videos.
I think that's definitely part of our aim, but I think the other part, I think that is a big part of our aim for sure. You can, but it's also just about, hey, you guys go to our channel, you watch one of our videos, and you're getting a pretty in-depth look at the laptop from people who've actually used it in real-world scenarios, not people who've unboxed it, ran Geekbench, and are just going, wow, the numbers are big.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate the thoroughness and accuracy that we bring to our videos.
Yeah. But the Neo, let's get into it. On my thoughts on the Neo. This is me processing this within the same day it was announced. Yeah. But with that said, of the Neo, of what I've seen thus far, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts, really it's coming in at about $600 with a student discount at $500. It's essentially the iPhone 16 Pro processor in there. So unlike Qualcomm, macOS was always designed to run off that architecture, which was the M series was kind of based on their iPhone architecture. So I assume that most things are going to work pretty well, not like when the ARM version of Windows versus the x86 version. That being said, from what I'm seeing, it has the performance of like an M1 processor. It does have 8 gig of RAM. I think there's some good things and bad things here, is my 2 cents. And there's a lot of other things that are cut down about it, by the way, guys. The USB-C ports are really, really, really slow and things like that.
They're like 3 or something, right?
Yeah, and one's 2, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, one is a 2 and one is a 3. So you're talking, you've got to be careful about that. But I think there's good and bad here. I think the great thing is, do we want more cheaper laptops? Absolutely. These will probably go on sale to $400 or $500, I would assume. I think that puts pressure on the entire industry, and I think that's a positive thing. I think my concerns are that these seem to be laptops designed to be sold versus to be used, and they're going to look incredibly pretty. They have great material build. They're going to look really good on the store shelves, and they'll probably rush off the store shelves. But Lilia, we just upgraded about half a year ago, I upgraded her from the M1 MacBook Air with 8 gig of RAM, so similar kind of thing to this. And even for her, just honestly, just web browsing in 2026, and she's not a tough user.
Right.
She was noticing it was a little slow. And I just think people got to understand that M1 chip came out in 2020. It was way ahead of its time. But if you say, okay, let's give it 3 years, so maybe it's equivalent to a good thin and light processor for 2023, it's still well behind what's currently out there.
Right. So there's not going to be a 16 gig option for these.
I can't recall, Cierra. We can put it up on screen.
Okay.
But I think the whole selling point here is the cheap price is my
right. So
imagination.
the cheapest models only have the 8 gigs, which we would not recommend usually.
Yeah, I think it depends. I actually don't mind that. I do think there's people who can get away with it. I think it's about, like, for Lilia, it was just a slowdown in those kind of tasks. They just weren't snappy. And I think it's about buyers truly understanding what they're getting. And that's where it worries me, is they're going to kind of get confused that they feel of a similar quality to the Air. They kind of look a similar quality to the Air.
Yeah.
But these are massively cut down in terms of their performance.
Yeah, okay.
And I think the other thing that I think that buyers need to be aware of here is for that price in the secondhand market or buying an older laptop, if you can get you should be able to get an M2 Air or M3 Air with 8 gig of RAM for that same price. And that is going to be much better than this on numerous facets. So I think it's about, and what worries me is that your buyer who goes into Apple an Apple store is already pretty unaware of what's going on, because quite frankly, you could walk down the street to, say, a Best Buy and buy the same laptop $200 off, who are almost always have these things on sale. So I worry that people are going to buy one of these not really knowing truly what they're getting into or what they could have got elsewhere.
Especially with who they're targeting with this.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, like even some of the Qualcomm laptops, like the Surface, we've seen go down very, very cheap. I think is probably going to be a much more capable laptop than this Neo.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, and I think, especially for this type of buyer, just a casual user, you take the VivoBooks, right? You can get a really high-quality VivoBook around this price with a Qualcomm chip. I think it's good for the industry, but I don't think people need to be very careful about who's buying one of these.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of brings us to, how is the Air changed? And is that still in that price range where it would maybe be affordable for some people?
Yeah. So the Air has basically introduced M5. They put in Wi-Fi 7. One thing that they've done, and this includes both the Air and the Pros, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it used to come with 256 gig of storage at the base and 16 gig of RAM. It now comes with 512 gig of storage, and 16 gig of RAM. But they're not giving you that storage upgrade free. They're charging you $100 extra. Instead of starting at $999, it's now $1,100.
Got it.
So, and that's the same with the Pros, which we'll get to. Now, realistically, I still think even at that price, the Airs are still a really good deal, really good sweet spot. I do think they're starting to fall. Like, it's a tough, because compared to the Windows, Panther Lake is fantastic, but it's coming in a lot higher right now in pricing.
Right.
If Panther Lake starts to drop in pricing due to big sales, I think it's the Airs. There's more pressure on the Air than there was last year. For instance, the Airs still have 60 hertz displays in 2026, which is just utterly ridiculous. The Airs still only have 2 USB-C ports on one side, not one charging on either side, or more variety.
Right.
The Airs also have quite a low travel keyboard, and which isn't the most comfortable. So I would say the Airs are still a good sweet spot, but they're losing a little bit of the gap between them and competitors is a lessening. I still think it's a great laptop to get, but I think Apple has not done as much as they should. I think we needed a fast refresh rate display in 2026 at a minimum, and that should have been pretty easy for them to do. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I still think they're a decent laptop.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I know that there's that like $800 range that they sometimes fall into on a sale. So
absolutely,
they'll still be super viable when they're on those sales, it sounds like.
I think so. I think so, yeah.
Okay, so what were you saying about the Pros changing?
Yeah, so just actually, Cierra, just to finish on that, I actually think one of the best ones to get is actually the Pro with the M5 chip, which came out last year. because we're going to test these Airs, but if the Airs end up throttling the M5 chip, and Apple has gradually, by the way, guys, they've gradually started feeding their newer, the chips more power over the years. If M5 is more power hungry than M4, and I can't remember off the top of my head if it is, if it's in the Air chassis without a fan, the delta between running the M5 chip in the Air chassis versus running it in the Pro chassis with a fan might be greater than we've seen before. So we are going to test that when we get in. And if so, that MacBook Pro with the M5 chip could be the true sweet spot here. Now, on the 14s with the Pro chip and the 16s with the Pro chip, I got to say, it's a pretty boring and disappointing update, which I think I texted Max about that. Look, this chassis, and I have it in front of me, it came out many years ago. And in today's day and age, it is a little bit heavy, it's a little bit thick, it's got very sharp edges, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable to use. I still think it's a great laptop, but again, similar to the Airs, the gap is kind of narrowing a little bit to the competitors. And I think, what's happened with the Air, again, particularly on the ones with the M5 Pro chip, they've got rid of the 512 gig storage config, which I think is a good thing. Yes, that's right. And I believe it starts at one terabyte. This is with the Pro chip I'm referring to, not the M5 chip. But they're not giving it to you free. They're essentially forcing you to do that upgrade. I actually don't mind this. And here's my reasoning. It used to be $2,000 or $2,400. $2,400 got you the better Pro chip, the 20 core, I believe it is, right, Cierra, versus the 14 or something? Or what was
I think it was 14 versus 12.
Thank you very much. You're right. I was thinking the GPU cores. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, so the 2,000 got you the 12 and the CPU cores, and then the 2,400 got you 14. But the reason to upgrade was because you got the 1 terabyte of storage versus the 512. And if you customize this with 512, it was a custom config. Most times you order custom configs, you lose that $200 sale price that you can get if you buy through a retailer.
Oh, okay.
Stock MacBooks go on sale a lot more than custom configs. So it was better, let's say you save $200, to get this one with 1 terabyte, you're basically paying $2,200 to get the upgrade.
Right.
This one's $2,400, $200 on sale, same price, you may as well get the better processor with 1 terabyte. So I actually like
because the stock configs are now going to be available
with 1 terabyte. Exactly. So I actually think you're basically, hopefully when they go on sale, could be paying $2,000 but getting the extra storage. So it's still, before you were paying say $1,800 with a $200 sale, and you were getting the lesser storage. So I don't think that is as bad as what it seems by forcing you to do the upgrade, because of the fact it's coming in the stock config, could be on sale. I don't know if I'm making sense with that.
No, that does make sense. I know that Best Buy is kind of our main seller for Apple. B&H does as well. But both of them offer about $200 off as a pretty consistent sale. So that'll be nice that'll be a terabyte for the lower-end Pro chip.
And so with that in mind, I think I personally, for my laptop, I would probably go with the lower end one now, because the only reason I went with the higher one before was because of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it basically, I was getting it free because otherwise it was a custom config. So I think that one could be the one to get. I am excited to get them in. I think it is good to see Wi-Fi 7 on the Air and the Pro. But yeah, it's nothing. It's not an exciting update, guys. As again, the notch is still huge and all of that kind of stuff. So look, we'll get them in. We'll test them. I'm very interested to see. I think one thing I'd like to know from you guys in the comments, do you want us to get every chip in the 14? So at least we can show you what happens, because it's our assumption. That these only go up to a 96 watt charger. The bigger Pro the 16 goes up to 140. In the 14-inch, what is the performance degradation as you up the CPUs?
Right.
So let me know if you want us to get all of them in. Otherwise, we'll try and pick the ones we think are probably the best. On the 16, we're going to get the one with the Max chip. But overall, it's a very boring update.
Yeah.
So look, we're going to get them all in, guys. As I said, it's probably in a week or two, and then we'll get you our reviews. We are excited about them, but I just can't see these being as good as the Panther Lake X chip in terms of, the chips will be very good. I can't see the launch being as exciting.
Right. Yeah, I would agree, which, we've got to cover it, but I think, in my personal life, this wouldn't be something I'd be like, oh, if you're a Mac person, you should totally buy this version or this iteration. Sorry.
And one thing I'm very interested to see is we have the M2 Max here in the 16-inch.
Yeah.
To see how much of a benefit is there truly of going to M5 Max. Like, should you really upgrade if you're on something like the M2 already? You know?
Yeah. I think that's fair. A lot of people are still with their M1s and M2s. So.
Yeah.
I think that's everything except we didn't bring up Samsung.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. So we get a lot of requests for Samsung. Samsung's probably one of the brands we've covered least on the channel. Just so you guys know, we have deep relationships with most brands, so we can ask them for laptops or what's coming, except Samsung and Apple. Apple seems to favor, I call them like glossy tech reviewers. They've, these cover, they don't go very deep on what they cover. And they tend to favor working with those kind of ones. The first look, they really hype things up. And maybe I'm being a little bit negative because obviously they don't work with us, but we don't have a relationship with Apple or Samsung. And that means we're buying them retail. We do get some help sometimes from retailers, which is very nice, but we do have to buy them retail. So that means we've really got to wait till they come out for sale. Samsung hasn't come out for sale yet.
Right.
But we hear the excitement for Samsung. We haven't taken them as seriously as we should have in the past. We've probably done a small number of Samsungs. We're taking them very seriously this year. We're a much bigger company than we have in the past. And we now have the means to go and probably buy at least 4 or 5 of them. And we will go and we will test them very thoroughly. So, and just on that note, we've talked about a lot of laptops coming out. We haven't talked about when. Most of the hot new laptops that you're looking at and people are excited about, we're probably going to have reviews out, I would say, late March, April is probably when we're thinking. We still haven't heard about the new gaming laptops, like the new Zephyrus G16 and G14. Right. Those will probably be after that. But some of these other ones that people are bringing up, the Slim 7i Ultra and things like that, I'd expect more of an April kind of review for those ones. So hopefully that gives you guys some timing.
Yeah. I think that covers everything, though. We talked about a lot today.
We did. Let us know with a comment if you like the podcast. The other one did pretty well, so that's why we're back. I put a call out to Jared to see if he wants to come and join us on the next one because I know he's got some things going on his channel, which should be pretty cool to hear about.
Cool.
So it'd be nice to have a guest on the channel.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever talked to Jared one-on-one. I know you guys are close, but...
Yeah. So, I mean, look, get subscribed. You know the website, bestlaptop.deals. We've got all the laptops we recommend there based on our real-world testing and thorough use of the laptops. You'll find everything there. And I think that's all we got. Like, subscribe, share with the friends, all that kind of stuff. Let's get
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll catch you guys later?
That's what we do. See you guys.